with what we provide them as a city. And we're talking about spending $100,000 a year to fortify this building. That's a really nice building, by the way. But I don't know if you've been down there and checked out where these guys have to work. Not very nice. And I mean, just having a desk, I mean, this podium's way nicer than the desks that they have to work on every day. And so I guess the point I guess I'm trying to make is I really don't, I don't want to see my tax dollars going to fortify this building against presumably just people like me and Rich who are both concealed carry guys. And I think I established last time that I'm not one that I think I would ever carry here, even if it were legal. Just not a place that I think I need to. I got Chief Cullimer right here. So and then we got a nice officer at the back of the room. So I think we're pretty safe. So I don't really feel the need that I would ever do that. But so I'm just here arguing against the future expenditure of city resources to build in bulletproof glass and retaining walls and you know, pat down machines and whatnot. I just think that's a ridiculous waste of our resources, our money, and I don't want to see it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I want to apologize to you guys. I debate with you guys on Facebook about guns and everything else, and I've heard a lot of you guys say that...
I'm sorry,
Tyrone Jones,
yeah.
sorry. 18336 Mimosa Court. I want to address them, then I'll address you guys next. I do think that you guys should be protecting yourself, and the reason why is because if the city is willing to do this to minor people that are just trying to make it, you guys should be able to arm yourself and protect yourself from the city. So I 100% agree that you guys should have every right to conceal and carry. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Council, questions for Chief Cullimer or other staff members?
I have one specific question. I think we've kind of talked this through a few times, and I think we kind of know to a certain extent where things stand. We also went through some things in executive session that we can't disclose here, but we understand that provisions have been made, and we appreciate that. My question really is more to the city attorney, to city staff, and the question really comes down to there have been questions, there have been some suppositions, there's been some not necessarily innuendo, but some educated guesses as to liability and what the existing liability is and what it could be if we decide not to pass or not to approve a letter of exemption from the statute, 2052. Do we have any concrete numbers as of right now from Midwest Municipal Risk or any other risk agencies out there in the state of Kansas regarding liability increases if you do not sign a waiver of the statute, or do we have any idea of terms of coverage right now, changes to terms of coverage?
Would you care to answer that, Dick or City Manager? Sure.
We don't have the final insurance numbers from NPR on action taken, what that would mean, or a definitive on whether or not they would even carry us or exclude us.
So when I say that we don't have any certainty on this at all from the standpoint of the liability aspect, that is an accurate statement.
As far as insurance coverage?
As far as
insurance,
we have no idea what the consequences, if any, would be in the insurance community.
That is correct. There has been no authoritative determination. The one conversation that I'm particularly aware of, though, is Carrot which is my understanding the city's workers' compensation insurance provider. It's my understanding that it's their intent not to include coverage for any accidents that arise out of and in the course of someone's employment that is associated with a conceal and carry. That's have been some conversations with Carrot. It's my understanding that's the way they're leaning, but there's been no authoritative determination at this point.
Okay, so accidental discharge from the standpoint of if there's a concealed carry amongst an employee and the weapon happens to go off, almost never would happen, but may, that individual will be individually liable for any occurrences that arise from that. Essentially.
It could be even broader than that. If there was an accidental discharge and it hit the employee sitting at the desk next to him, there was a discharge, or if a concealed carry permit holder came into City Hall and shot an employee, that could be an exclusion.
Accidental or malice. Obviously, malice would be that's another issue entirely. But what you're saying is they would be basically treated the same under this particular provider, if your conversations are correct.
Right. That would be excluded.
And when you say excluded, basically then who's responsible for paying for any?
Yeah, if there's no coverage, then you're in the insurance world they call that running naked, because you're self-insured for all practical purposes.
Well, in regards to I was curious about the insurance because of the discussion we had. In 2012, Kentucky passed pretty similar legislation. So I contacted a handful of city administrators in Kentucky and asked what, if any, rates they saw from the passed legislation, if they allowed or they didn't allow. And the consensus was there wasn't a change. So that was, although we can't promise to mimic those expectations, that's what I found from someone else's experience. Question, Ryan, it's pretty pointed. It's not to the liability from an insurance perspective, but by submitting the waiver request or by just simply taking down the signs, which do you think leaves us most exposed in some sort of civil suit in the case of some sort of catastrophic event? So in most cases, these go to federal courts. So the statute itself doesn't offer much protection from the state exemptions because they're not tried that way very often. Which one do you think leaves us with more exposure?
Wow.
Professionally speaking, I know it's a very tough question, but in your experience and your education, what would you believe?
My experience is nothing because this is a new law in Kansas, right? So it would be speculation on my part. I think I did address this to some degree last time in that I was trying to envision causes of action that could arise, but I'd really hate to speculate too much on one way or the other. All I can say is, and I think I said this last time, is that the exemption from liability in the state, I think, can be very misleading because of the availability of federal remedies.
I want to make sure I understand this correctly. As I read the ordinance, it is a one-time shot for the waiver. If you don't meet the January 1st deadline, then you're not available to look at it another time.
That's correct.
That you either put up the security measures or take the signs down. My only issue with that is because there are a few unknowns in regards to some of these outside pieces, we can't trace our steps back. Once it's done, it's done. So, but we could apply for the waiver, and in 6 months, in May, we realize that nothing's going to change if we take the signs down, and we don't want to absorb any other cost because we won't be taking on any other cost from insurance or any other coverage. We could do that without any issues at all. We can always take the signs down, correct?
That's exactly right, and that's the letter that is in your packet that I helped Chief Colomber draft contemplates that the city will only exercise the exemption either for the 4 years or until such time as the governing body elects to otherwise comply with House Bill 2052.
Okay.
So if you take down the stickers and allow conceal and carry, or if you otherwise employ adequate security measures.
I've got a question and maybe Cheryl or Laura is probably better equipped to handle this. Our renewal in term as it runs with MPR, that's not from January 1st until December 31st. Laura, you're shaking your head.